On the immediate right of the Mr. Vice President is our Honorable Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, under whose dynamic leadership, of course, in conjunction with the Minister of Finance, that we are witnessing today. What a historic day. That is Honorable Boasedi. Boasedi, you are welcome. To the immediate left of Mr. Sedi is our consultant who has been holding our hands through this journey. You know, all the way coming from Nigeria in a very, very informal level, you know, in engaging him to take us through, giving us his experience. He has worked almost all components of the capital market, you know, in Nigeria, retired, and also even supporting, establishing some more firms. It's Dr. Joseph Mikilu. You're welcome. To the immediate left of Honorable Governor, Honorable Minister, is the chairman and the executive director of CIS. That is, CIS is the Institute for Stockbrokers in Nigeria. So it's a capacity building arm. In Nigeria, you cannot practice, you cannot be a broker without having that certificate. So already in the vision of the governor, is reaching out, try to perfect the master plan, which will have to address every aspect of the capital market. So I have the honor to also introduce to you Mr. Oluwole Adeson from Nigeria. So CIS is a Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the members of the high table. As the program unfolds, we will introduce to you, you know, many of the participants in this gathering to at least recognize their various contributions towards the establishment of, or the launching of this capital market. So moving on, going to the program proper. So we have the first agenda item on the program is the prayers. So in every effort we are making, we want the presence of the Lord for his guidance in the process. So I would like to request in our individual ways to recognize the presence of the Lord in 10 seconds, please. Thank you very much. Thank you once more. So moving to the next on the agenda is the welcoming remark by the Honorable Governor, Central Bank of the Gambia. Mr. Boasedi, I have the honor to invite you to this podium to welcome your guest, our guest. Thank you very much. So Mr. Sedi has been very much strong on this. So what we will see as we move on. Mr. Sedi, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jawara, who is also MC for this launching of the capital market. His Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of the Gambia, Mr. Mohammed B.S. Jallo, who is representing His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Mr. Adama Barrow, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mr. Sidi Kadi Keta, other cabinet ministers here present, National Assembly members here present, the diplomatic and consular corps here present, IMF resident representative, Patrick, the IMF technical assistant mission that is with us at the Central Bank, they are also here present, permanent secretaries, managing directors of public entities, representative of government institutions, managing directors of commercial banks and other financial institutions, the board of directors of the Central Bank of the Gambia, who have worked very hard on this, board of directors of the capital market, distinguished delegates from the big brother Nigeria, distinguished guests, the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me the utmost pleasure to address this very important occasion, being an event where the players in the financial business space gather to celebrate the launching of the median capital market of the Gambia. You will all agree with me that the Gambia has a long-established money market where short-term instruments are issued. The bond issuance has been few and far between, with a very shallow secondary market. This, however, was a one-sided financial market, which we have been managing with for years. Today's launch will begin and end to this with the introduction of the capital market, where non-debt securities such as shares and equities are issued and traded. The project of developing a capital market has been in the country's National Development Plan. The African Development Bank, AFDB, conducted a feasibility study on the Gambia in 2005 and concluded that it was not a good time to embark on such a project, given the low level of financial development. Fast forward, the past 10 years have witnessed quite a lot of development in our financial institutions, financial infrastructure, and the economy. Your Excellency, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, economies around the world are going through tumultuous times characterized by slowdown in growth, high inflation, cost of living crisis. These are challenging times for households and businesses, and equally for policymakers. Let me assure you of the Central Bank of the Gambia's resolve to restoring macroeconomic stability, which has been the biggest asset for the Gambia. We remain resolute in our commitment to achieve our mandate of price and exchange rate stability, underpinned by a sound and vibrant financial system to encourage and promote sustainable economic development. After several years of progress, the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine have brought with them complex challenges that threaten Africa's economic development. Poverty has increased, the infrastructure gap is widening, and the foreign financing has become increasingly unreliable. This calls for innovative thinking on the side of policymakers by looking inwards and giving domestic resource mobilization a priority. Harnessing domestic resource mobilization is critical to navigate the ongoing crisis, build resilience of our economy, and help close the much despised infrastructure deficit, as well as deliver on social protection programs and other public services such as healthcare and education. Your Excellency, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the essence of having a capital market in the Gambia encompasses the following. 1. Capital markets not only facilitate the mobilization of long-term savings and investment, but also assist in price discovery in the case of traded instruments and enhance disclosure through perfect information flows between economic agents. Furthermore, capital markets engender efficiency in resource allocation through the channeling of long-term investments into sectors where they are most needed. 2. Capital market development promotes economic growth. Capital markets are significant sources of financing for the corporate sector and play an important role in economic growth. Equity markets are of prime importance for economic development. More liquid stock markets, where it is less expensive to trade equities, reduce the disincentives to investing in long duration projects, because investors can easily sell their ownership interest in the project if they need their savings before the project matures. Therefore, enhanced liquidity facilitates investment in long-run, high-return projects that boost productive growth. The third benefit of capital market is that due to the limited availability of debt-based financing for high-risk projects, access to equity financing also may spur innovation. Moreover, the fact that shareholders are residual claimants means they have a much stronger incentive to exert control over the investment decisions of a company than debt holders. Active investors, including institutional investors, may use their expertise to push for changes that could lead to enhanced performance and stock price growth. It is also important to note that stocks, unlike debts in many cases, are information sensitive, which leads to more information gathering incentives by outside investors than debt financing does. Another critical role of a capital market is to facilitate efficiency in the delivery of financial services through cost effectiveness and the promotion of transparency and accountability. Finally, capital markets create employment opportunities through the establishment of various types of market operators, such as fund management firms, discount houses, issuing houses, custodians, registrars, brokerage firms, legal services, financial analysts, and accountants, to name a few of the relevant professionals in the capital market. Cognizance of this, and in recognition of the fact that long-term investments are critical for infrastructural development, the Central Bank of the Gambia has initiated a project to establish a capital market in the Gambia. This followed the enactment of the Capital Market and Securities Act 2021 and the approval granted to the Central Bank of the Gambia by our oversight ministry to serve both as the Securities and Exchange Commission and to host the exchange and central securities depository on a temporal basis until when it can operate independently. This is not the first time for the central bank. We are known to serve as an incubating agency for institutions. We've done it recently, is the Financial Intelligence Unit. We are also about to separate with the insurance department in the central bank, which we intend to also give back to government with sponsorship for at least 2 years to establish the Insurance Commission in the Gambia. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the Capital Market Project goes along with other reforms to upgrade and modernize the payment systems and financial infrastructure. Once completed, it is envisaged that this will not only provide a more efficient, secure, and reliable platform for financial transactions, but improve financial inclusion. The goal is to foster an environment that encourages economic diversification, instill a savings culture, and a job creation through efficient financial intermediation. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission to incentivize investments for the Gambia, a mission to showcase the Gambia, a mission to say to the world, the Gambia is open and ready for investment, a mission to promote growth and financial inclusion that ensures no one is left behind. I wish to seize this opportunity, Your Excellency, to recognize the Honorable Minister of Justice and staff, the Minister of Finance and staff, the National Assembly, the Solicitor General and team, and the government printer and his staff, as well as the board of the Central Bank of the Gambia, for their significant contribution towards the enactment of the Capital Market and Securities Act 2021. The Central Bank of the Gambia also hereby extends a hand of friendship and partnership to the entire public and private sector. We cannot do it alone without your generous support and active participation. It will be remiss of me to leave this podium without recognizing the following. Our dear consultant, Dr. Joe McKelwa, who has been guiding my team through this journey. The Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, ably represented by Mr. Mahmoud Mukhtar, Mr. Abin Bola Babalola, Deputy Director General, Market Surveillance and Investigation, NGX Regulation Limited, Ms. C. Eke, Head, Market Operation and Information Technology, NASD OTA Securities Exchange, Mr. Osuji Carl Rudolph, Executive Officer of CSCS, Mr. Oluwole Adiosun, FCS President and Chairman of Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, and Mr. Olumedi Lala, Executive Director, Climate Finance Solution, Climate Transition Limited, all from broad Nigeria. A big thanks to all of you. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to conclude, I wish to underscore the onerous task ahead, which must be met by a high level of commitment and firm resolve on the part of all stakeholders, but the future is still bright. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you. Please, let's give another round of applause to the Honorable Governor. Indeed, as is indicated, we are on a journey. We have a mission, and it has been enumerated. This mission, we must see it accomplished, either by us or those who are to come after us. So also, we have had the high-powered delegation that has left Nigeria for this occasion, solely, wholly and solely for this occasion. Some of whom are even leaving tonight. They only came in to grace this occasion. That is a big thing that we appreciate. Please, let's give them a round of applause. So also one big thing, that message that come out of Governor's welcoming remark is, recognizing that the external financing becoming unreliable and experiencing the donor fatigue. So we needed to create platforms in which we will improve resource mobilization, particularly domestic resources mobilization, to be able to address our numerous, infrastructural deficits, plus many other, activities of government. So this is a platform. We want to create a platform through which, we could, realize this. So the private sector, we still mention you, we continue to mention you, you are going to be the backbone for this to succeed. Thank you very much. So at this point, I have the honor and the privilege to call on the Honorable Minister for his remarks. Honorable Sidi Keita, you are welcome, please.
Good morning, Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic, Governor of the Central Bank, fellow cabinet ministers here in present, representative of the donor community, namely the IMF, the World Bank, the United Nations Systems, ADB, etc., and the EU. The fourth estate, that's the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all of the protocol duly and respectively observed. I'm pleased to be here today to witness the launching of yet another critical milestone in the government of the Gambia's development agenda, which I dare say will be the start of a paradigm shift in the deepening of the financial and investment ecosystem of the country. Along the critical reforms currently being undertaken by our government is to strengthen public financial management, innovative financial instruments creation, and evidence has shown that countries cannot reach high level of socio-economic growth or prosperity without placing significant importance on the role of the financial market in the development agenda. Your Excellency, colleague ministers, ladies and gentlemen, as we are all aware, the Gambia's financial architecture has been limited since the independence of the country and has been unable to meet the financial and economic needs of the country for a sustained economic growth, poverty reduction, human and fiscal infrastructure development. Since independence, our financial architecture has been predominantly made up of insufficient, has the following features. One is the insufficient access to long-term capital, underdeveloped private sector sources of capital, and limited foreign direct investment, constrained by a small economy, low income, small population size, and these all pose significant risk and cost of doing business in the country. The government is critically aware of these issues that plague the current financial system and inhibits growth of our productive sectors. For instance, despite the existence of more than 13 commercial banks, the private sector lacks access to credit facilities, particularly from the medium and long term. Some historical data shows that less than 10% of the deposits is giving out a short-term, less than 3 years maximum credit, with exorbitant interest rates up to a margin of 20% and beyond. Hence, deepening the financial sector and expanding the financial intermediary in the form of a capital market can be beneficial to the Gambian economy because it will allow for greater pooling of domestic savings, better risk sharing, mobilization of foreign capital, and facilitate more effective allocation of resources to long-term productive investments. This is why His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Adama Barrow, has charged my ministry to work closely with other relevant sector ministries, the central bank, and other stakeholders to develop and provide more innovative sources of financing, particularly those that are crucial for tapping into domestic and foreign sources of capital. The government is working closely, tirelessly, to introduce these innovative sources of financing to continue the growth trajectory of our economy. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, we are gathered here today to launch one of these initiatives, which is the first capital market of the Gambia, and that would, over time, provide ordinary Gambians and private sector opportunities for investments in securities such as stocks and bonds, and to raise affordable capital to fund their investment and grow their businesses. This would, in turn, provide the broader economy with qualitative and quantitative benefits from increased capital investments in infrastructure, tourism, agriculture, and manufacturing. Notwithstanding, the capital market can only provide this benefit if investor confidence in the economy, the governance of the country, and the institutions that regulate and manage the market is not only maintained, but remains high. At the center of these concerns will be the confidence that investors have in the independence, governance, and regulatory framework of the capital market of the Gambia to monitor the systemic risks that they apply and to ensure that counter-cyclical economic effects are managed and transparently handled. The three pillars for any economic growth are, to borrow the words of Professor Rajan, the government, society, and the market. The first two has been very active in the Gambia. That is the role of government and society. But the third one has been very nascent. We cannot develop the country without allowing the market to play its dominant role. If you look at the difference, the key difference between the developing countries and the developed countries, one singular factor is the role of market in socio-economic development. All problems are supposed, or society expects, government to solve. But unfortunately, economic transformative agenda is rested on three pillars, not two pillars. That's why the role of the market in any economic transformation is central. And the capital market will address these shortfalls which have been in our financial system. We cannot develop when the role of government is at the center of everything. We must change our narrative and reposition the country to the level where the private sector and the market will be the dominant force. The role of the government should be that of regulation, governance, and providing the enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. And that is when economic transformation happens. To this end, I will like to assure potential investors and the market sector analysts and other stakeholders that my ministry's commitment and willing to ensure that whatever role we are supposed to play, we will be there to ensure confidence in the economy of the Gambia. This will be done through the development and application of a robust macroeconomic policy framework that is founded on fiscal discipline, sustained public debt management, and a fair, robust, and efficient tax system, public investment in critically underserved sectors and regions, and ensure that the vulnerable segments of society are not left behind through our social sector interventions. Additionally, my ministry, acting in concert with other stakeholders, institutions, as mandated by the Act, will be ready to respond in real time to both exogenous shocks as well as regional or geopolitical, financial, and economic developments. And the launching of the capital market will introduce elements such as price volatility, systemic risk, and emotional management of the investors. These are not easy things to deal with, but we are sure with the right regulatory framework that we have in place, that will be taken care of. In conclusion, therefore, what we are witnessing here today in the financial and economic evolution of our dear country is nothing short of a revolution. And to everyone here present and to the potential investors everywhere, please be informed that the Gambia is open for business in a new way that puts the investors and the private sector at the heart of the economic transformation agenda. Also be informed at the same time that my ministry and the entire government machinery as a whole is ready, willing, and will be able to do what it takes to address the systemic risk that the launch of the capital market may introduce. The launch of the capital market will unleash the private capital of the Gambia and the international community and reposition the country for an unprecedented economic transformation. I thank you for your kind attention.
Please, let's keep it up. Let's keep it up. Thank you. Thank you for those kind and encouraging words. You know, there is two words that I found to be very common in the first two speeches. They are all echoing the issue of innovation. So innovation. So all this is gearing towards innovation. So we must find a way, you know, to do some other things. If what we are doing is not giving us what we are looking for, we have to change, we have to find ways, we have to innovate. Of course, they all came to the realization that it's the private sector that has to be encouraged, given the enabling environment to lead the way. The public sector cannot. So clearly, we have been informed what government has resolved to do, and central bank has also made its statement. So we want to marry these two and private sector to prove that whether we all live to our expectation to drive the economy to a higher height. So it's a revolution, as he mentioned. So we must all join this revolution. It's a movement. So please let us all be ready to join this movement. So at least we make a change and we have the missing pillar that has been recognized today is the missing pillar. So say once you know what's wrong with you, it's a halfway to solve your problem. So if you know there's three pillars and we missed one and it has been found and recognized this is the missing pillar, so we're trying to address that. So let's make sure now we have all the three pillars. Next time we meet here, so we should see transformation that has been preached. Thank you, Mr. Minister, for those words. So before we are getting to the climax of the activities of this morning, but before then, we of course would like to recognize the presence of our diplomatic team who have come to witness this occasion. As I mentioned earlier, they are partners in this and they have been supporting us. We have our former deputy governor also who has been working on this for a very long time, but he's here with us to also witness the realities. Mr. Drame, you are welcome to the occasion. We have the honorable ministers. Of course, not many has come, but I think the few are very strong ones that have shown up. So that will be enough for us. We are actually satisfied. Ministers, you are welcome. Thank you very much for gracing the occasion. Of course, we have the permanent secretaries, we have head of institutions, we have the MDs of the banks. So as the minister mentioned, if we look per capita, on per capita basis, we may have the highest number of banks in the sub-region, in our sub-region, on per capita base. But of course, minister is not very impressed, and think many of us too, to see how private sector is able to get the necessary funding to be able to, start the engine of the economy. So that is, then this platform has been created. So together, I think we have found the missing pillar once more. Thank you very much. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to invite His Excellency, the Vice President, Mohamed Bassirou Sidi Jallow, to deliver his keynote address. Thank you very much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs and other honorable ministers here present, the Governor of the Central Bank and your staff, the consultant, the Chairman and President of the Institute of Stockbrokers, the resident representative of the IMF and other diplomatic members of diplomatic and consular corps here present, the staff of the Central Bank and other staff of the Ministry of Finance and other government officials, the private sector, the press, all other protocols duly and respectfully observed. Ladies and gentlemen, to put this occasion into perspective, let me state that in 2021, the National Assembly passed the Capital Market and Security Bill of 2021, which that is on behalf of His Excellency President, assented to and signed into law. Thereafter, this historic event is an outcome of that development. It is an honor, therefore, to be with you to launch the Gambia Capital Market. The Capital Market and Security Act will serve as the principal regulatory document for the capital and securities market to ensure a dynamic, fair, transparent, and efficient system that supports economic development. In accordance with the Green Recovery Focused National Development Plan 2023 to 2027 and the Long-Term Development Vision to 2050, it is planned and expected that the capital market will be a vital pillar in providing the required funding through its diverse product offerings and financing mechanism. Ladies and gentlemen, a UNDP policy brief issued in June 2021 underscored the urgent need for the country to adopt financing mechanisms that will underpin and ensure the delivery of our national development plan, support pandemic recovery efforts, and reinforce the realization of the country's long-term climate vision. The launching of this capital market will no doubt offer an alternative investment platform with greater market access, diverse risk intermediation, and funding solutions for business and government. The market will assist in addressing the infrastructure challenges and could destabilize the country's long-term growth and development. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a study published by the World Bank in December 2019 reported, and I quote, a strong correlation between capital markets and economic growth, unquote. It went further to highlight the increased attention given to capital markets as a mechanism that can potentially help channel private sector funding to key strategic sectors of the economy. Consequently, the sectors that are expected to benefit from the capital markets include business cooperations, infrastructure investments, housing, small and medium enterprises, and climate change resilience projects. Such investments are made possible through the mobilization of funds from the surplus units of the economy to the deficit units, thus making capital available to the government and companies. This, in turn, creates employment opportunities and facilitates real sector growth. Ladies and gentlemen, with much reason, I believe that capital markets serve as an essential organized system for free flow of capital, raised through debt or equity. This would no doubt assist in the development of deep and liquid government bond markets, where mobilization of local resources for innovative financing could be made. Additionally, it is projected that this development in the financial sector will boost resilience, stimulate growth, transform the economy, and enhance domestic financial stability by providing new tools to raise funds and manage liquidity risk. With financial resilience and stability, the Gambia would be better positioned to implement policies that enhance job creation, infrastructure development, and access to basic services, thereby raising the living standards of our fellow citizens to decent and dignified levels. My government is uncompromisingly committed to creating the enabling environment for the financial sector to thrive. We have resolved as well to making the private sector an engine for growth, transformation, and job creation. I am confident that the capital market will ultimately create the right tools to achieve these goals. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I thank the Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia and the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs and their teams for their immense contributions towards the development of a capital market in the country. I acknowledge the enormous support of the Governor of the Central Bank and his team for accepting the responsibility of implementing the capital market project within the Central Bank as a temporary arrangement until its maturity into an independent institution. I also thank all those who, in one way or another, contributed to the development and launch of the Gambia capital market. Before concluding, I must reiterate my government's support of this gallant enterprise and recognize the various stakeholders who have made this day possible. We thank you all. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure to declare the capital market of the Gambia launched. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. Vice President, thank you. Please, let's give him another round of applause. I think these are very encouraging moments. Maybe it's by no coincidence that the person who assented to the act is also here to launch. So we heard from the operators, the policymakers, of course, the highest office. So I think there's no encouragement more than that we needed to make this a reality. I would like to also recognize and thank the graduates of the capital markets. You know, the US government, through Making Institute, have trained many Gambians, you know, on this profession. And we have quite a sizable number of graduates that are in our midst here. Some are at the central bank, some are in other ministries. So the ground actually is fertile for us to drive the process further. So we would like to thank and recognize U.S. government through the U.S. Embassy for that gracious gesture. Of course, the governor also assembled all this high-power delegation, as he mentioned, from our big brother, is to look at all aspects of the capital market, from the capacity building part, from the surveillance part, from the regulation part, from the operator part, from the CSD part. All these institutions, they are either their MDs or their director generals or their presidents are the ones that are present here. So governor has already started engaging them how to advance this, because we need capacity, continuous capacity to actually, realize this dream. So thank you very much, Mr. Vice President, for your time and the encouraging words they have shared with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what has brought us to the end of this morning session. So we'll have the tea break. So I think as the protocol demands, we'll have the high table. Perhaps, the Vice President and the team on the high table will leave. I've just been reminded, I know we are to have group photograph, because in such a rare occasion, so with these distinguished personalities present here, so we want to capture this moment for posterity. So that being the case, I believe perhaps we will leave here straight for the group photograph, then we go to the tea break, then the rest of us will come back. I know the Vice President and the other team members may go, but we would like to continue the interaction. We will interact with our guests from Nigeria and also the staff that are going to man, the current setup, and then we engage with the with the participants on the process and procedures as how we're going to go about from tomorrow, from the next working day. So we want to start some activities in this market. So we're going to do that engagement after the tea break. So thank you very much. I now leave to the hands of the protocol officer, who will now lead the high table to where we're going to have the group photograph. Then please, let's allow our diplomatic team and the honorable ministers, cabinet ministers, to follow them. Our diplomats and the honorable ministers to follow the Vice President and the team from the high table. Then we will have our board members, the permanent secretaries, to follow that, so that we don't crowd. The exit door is very narrow, so we can just able to go out in a very orderly way. So please, I actually, forget to also recognize our deputy governors. Our deputy governors are here with us. They all came, we left the office.